we move forward, anytime you come close to something, your vision should get clearer. Am I right? You are a tool in the hidden hand that shoots at you. Please don't be delusional. The rulers of this world practice confusion. The people and the priests and the imam have been jammed by government scams, lying systematically programmed. Blatant black hatred and racism. The way they lace the whole world and nation with traces of Satanism. This place is a pagan prison. The founding fathers enslaving intentions were no different than Bush's and Reagan's vision. 1776 took action. This Illuminati took form. It was born from a Colombian faction. Just flip your $1 bill over. If you want me to expose the true code of deception, I will show you. We live in a design wicked system. The number 13 is consistent in masonic symbolism. It represents transformation. 12 completes a cycle. 13 is rebirth and regeneration. The meaning of the symbol are strategically hid. On the left side is the 13-layered pyramid. On the back is the all-seeing eye where the light shines. The sign of the devil watching over you at all times. The words animal corruptness. 13 letters meaning he has favored our undertakings. Will you accept this? Where you learn the science in the forum under the pyramid, you see nobles translated the order of the world, of the new world order, of the satanic fathers of mass slaughter. The evil that you see on the right sits below 13 stars as a shield. Yes, indeed. Man, that is K Reno with that, grand deception, which is what is happening on this planet. I see Kabash is definitely in the building. Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Hope you are enjoying your Sabbath. Not sure how well the audio is because my headset came up missing and I can't seem to locate it anywhere. So, um, Tragic Magic is also in the building. You guys give me a one in the chat if the audio is legible. If you guys can hear what I'm saying, please let me know because I don't have my headset on and I'm not sure, what the viewers is hearing or okay. So there we go. All right. So it's fine, man. I pray everything is well with you guys. I got my brothers from other mothers in the building. May you all be blessed. Hopefully, your Sabbath day was excellent. You guys had a moment of peace and rest because we definitely need to rest in order to reset from the trials that we constantly face on a day-to-day basis. And if you're new to this channel, I want to welcome you too. If you are a returning visitor, of course, you're back on another journey to truth and life, and you're rocking and rolling with your boy, none other than MTAC, Mr. More Than a Conqueror, here on another journey. But what we're talking about is commonly referred to as gangstalking. Now, in the legal terminology, it would be called the counterintelligence MK Ultra Monarch programs. These are systematic programs designed by scientists, psychologists, and other intelligence community operatives in order to bring in line, neutralize, or eliminate any threat to the establishment of power and social order. This is nothing new. It have existed for centuries and millenniums. You can go all the way back to the initial Nimrodian Babylonian phase, where they call it the Sumeric kingdom. And they were hanging people on trees, on crosses, and other forms of torture. You can go back to, what was his name? Vladimir the Impaler, right? Where they were cutting, decapitating distances, whistleblowers revolutionists in placing their heads on public spikes along the roads in order to intimidate would-be supporters, right? So anytime someone is a has a different philosophy, a different ideal or mindset than what the so-called New World Order or the current power of establishment have, they see you as a threat and they want to neutralize you in some shape, form, or fashion. So whether it's community-based harassment, whether it's 24-hour surveillance and intimidation, COINTELPRO, or attempts to behavioral modify through neuro cybernetic interfacing. Some of you call it remote neuromonitoring. We are experiencing that on a global scale. It's nothing new. It is more technologically evolved in the era that we live in, but this is an ongoing problem for humanity where narcissists get into power and they choose to abuse their authority, right? There's a saying, many of you may have heard of it, that says power corrupt, but absolute power corrupts absolutely, right? Let me get to some of these comments. It says, my targeting has been minimum for the past few weeks. Yeah, I'm happy that you've had that experience. You know, I don't have to tell you, get your mental rest, reset spiritually, emotionally, because we know how the enemy operates. Normally, they're regrouping, plotting, and strategizing how to come back at you a different type of way. Hoping that this is the end of it for you, but I don't see that because the system have not completely collapsed, although we're very close. Economical collapse is on the brink, and we can get into some of those discussions, etc. But we always need our Sabbath reset in order to be prepared for the next onslaught against our lives. It says past few weeks, all right. And then it says Vlad the Impaler, absolutely. Is my country Romania? Is from a absolutely. I did not know you was from Romania. Tragic magic, but that's absolutely um, correct. And so we have someone here that can attest to this attempt to neutralize people that are outspoken, right? Not necessarily radical in the form of violence, because I'm not a violent person, but I do believe in standing up for what I believe is right. I believe that any person who's not willing to stand up for um, something, what they believe in, they'll fall for anything, right? If you're not willing to stand for something, then you'll fall for anything. And so that is very interesting to know that you're from Romania, so you're very familiar with what I'm speaking of, and the narcissistic, um, deranged torture methods that was used in order to instill fear and demand cooperation and obedience out of the public. Now, couple that with CIA, FBI, MK Ultra, COINTELPRO type tactics, and you get what we are experiencing here in America and other Western influenced parts of the world. Because this is the new revised Roman Empire, right? Um, it says he's the original Dracula. Absolutely. the adrenochrome, the blood drinking, the living off the life force of others. This is why the scriptures tells us in the Torah that we are not to consume the blood, for life is in the blood. But these soulless demonic individuals, I call them SDIs, soulless demonic individuals, these soulless, lifeless beings, they don't have the ability to generate a life force on their own. So therefore, they must live off others. Vlad the Impaler actually, is a great example of these things being true. It's not conspiracy or anything. This is sketched in the pages of history. So we can go back and we can study so that we're not repeating the same mistakes. We have people in positions of power today that are still human sacrificing, torturing, murdering on mass scales, child rape. The pedophilia rings are way out of control, and these are seemingly respectable people in positions of authority and power. It needs to be addressed. It needs to be dealt with. And I'm here to speak out on it if need be. It says they are just keeping me on ice for now. All right. It says you are right. They are just regrouping for me, and I'm not complaining for now. Absolutely. If you survived thus far, if you're a true targeted individual and you have survived the onslaught against your life thus far, you should have the faith that you'll survive another day. The enemy's not coming to toy with any of us. Their primary objective is elimination. If they have not been able to eliminate you thus far, it's not because they don't want to, it's because they can't. There's a barrier, there's a protection. The Most High's hand is on your life, it's on my life, and the enemy cannot go no further. He's a bad dog on a leash, and he can't go no further than the father leashes him. You know what I mean? Let him loose on that chain. He can go so far, and then the Most High pulls him back. It says, I live in NYC, New York City. In New York City is, man, it has a history, right, of gang wars. There was a very popular movie, Gangs of New York, and so forth. So its history is political and social corruption, right? Through people uh, coming together in mobs and groups and enforcing their will through violence and using their mass in order to demand cooperation and subjugation. So you're right in the heart of the corruption here in the United States. I can't think of any other city more corrupt than the NYC, Um, but yeah, and we I can't speak on it, but we know about the history of some very powerful political figures there in the New York um, area, right? A lot of wealthy, powerful, corrupt people, and that I won't speak on. I will digress. But it's not just in New York, it's all over the place. And it's not one or two bad apples. America is a bag of complete uh, rottenness, corruption, whatever you want to say. It's through and through. You cannot excel in the satanic pyramid society without being corrupt in some shape, form, or fashion. The enemy do not lift up people that he cannot trust to carry out his will. So their will is to do that of their fathers, and we know that their father is the devil. You know what I mean? These devils, these are devils in the flesh. And when I say devils, my definition of devil is much different than what the religious sector would believe. I'm not religious. I believe in a relationship. All right. So the religious bodies would teach you that they're amorphous intellectual blobs that go around causing mischief and unfortunate events in someone's life. The reality of it is uh, the word devil comes from the Latin word diablos, which means a devaluer and accuser. So one that devalues, one that accuses. And you can go do the research for yourself. And these are DNA character factors, what we would call genotype. Now, their phenotype, which is their physical expression, they look like regular people, you know, through their phenol. But if you pull their DNA, they would have the DNA of what Christ would say in the book of Luke chapter, um, Matthew chapter 23. They have the bloodline of murderers, of narcissists, of, you know what I mean, of these gang stalkers. And he says it goes all the way back to Cain. You know what I mean? From Abel's murderer, which was Cain, they are the descendants of Cain, you know, who was in secret competition with his brother. It was in his flawed DNA. These people have genetic uh, complexes that drive them to be left brained. So there's no negative impact on their actual intellectual quotient, but they lack the balance. They're imbalanced. They have a mental imbalance. These are truly bipolar individuals because they lack emotional quotient, which is dictated by the right uh, hemisphere of the brain. They like that. So you have a lot of people with a whole lot of intellectual inspiration to do wickedness, but no emotional, healthy emotions to be able to balance that out. So there's a righteous outcome there. It says Fred Matt is in the building. It says the exclusive, the trying to read this, and it is extremely small. I mean, try to get it to appear. I do apologize for it. It says it says the executive running this program wears um, adult pampers and sucking on pacifiers. Absolutely. This reminds me of there's a song by this guy called Gorilla Zoe, and the words to that song really inspired me when uh, you know, went to lyrics.com, and he had this song called Lost. And, you know, I don't know it verbatim, but the initial verse says, I'm walking around looking for a way, but no one tells me which way to go. I'm caught up in this world. It's an elaborate maze, like MAZE, where yes, men can easily be known, meaning fake people, they're easily to spot. He said, so I asked them no questions because they can give me no answers. Um, Following the wise, and this is in line with your comment. He said, I call myself following the wise, but they're walking in pampers, meaning that they call themselves intellectuals, you know, leaders, but they're babies mentally. They're like Christ said, they're like children at the marketplace that are complaining, wanting attention, saying, we've sang a dagger, you know what I mean? We've played the harps and the flutes for you, and you wasn't moved by all our attempts to grasp your attention and you know, we want your attention. We want you to focus on us. What about us? They're like angry little children walking in diapers. So the song goes on to say, give me a cigarette. Now I'm smoking my cancer. I try to drink the pain away because I still have no answers. I'm lost on the road and I'm wheeling and swerving on and off the road. He says, I'm losing my mind. I'm losing control of the wheel, but wheel is WILL, meaning his will to continue to live and resist this thing. He's losing that. Um, and I thought that was a very clever, um, poetic way to express one's experience in this matrix of a life here in America and so forth. But this is where we are. Unfortunately, those that have good intent, good hearts, and good wills and desires to do the right thing, like the authority and power to be able to enforce it, right? So the scripture says in the book of Proverbs, when the wicked rule, the kingdom weeps. And so we have a nation in sorrow, a nation in tears, because the wicked is in positions of power and authority. It says they live through channel. All right. So this is, you know, what we're experiencing. And your boy MTAC, I experienced it 24-hour days, 7 days a week. And I'll be lying if I didn't say it's not difficult attempting to find a balance of how do you manage, right? Because that's all we can do is manage the situation to the best of our abilities. How do we manage when on your job, per se, when they have uh, cameras on you 24 hours a day, they're spying on you 24 hours a day, they have little monitors and things of that nature. They're trying to create some sort of chaos or misrepresentation of you as a person in your work environment, social environment, etc. When they have snakes and fakes at their disposals that are trained by Central Intelligence, Federal Bureau, investigator, uh, Homeland Security agents, NSA, etc., in order to engage a person with what they would call hyper interrogation. I deal with it all the time. And normally there's two roads to take. You can take the higher road and let them know that you see them coming a mile away, or you can get around them by taking the low road. That is playing dumb, playing ignorant, and subservient to their attempts and attacks. And most of the time, the narcissists believe that they are smarter, that they are better, that they are, leaps and bounds ahead of you, not knowing that the Most High have given His elect favor so that we see, we know, and we most of all feel. We feel because we have a soul. We have active, healthy emotions, which those that are the initiators or the demons, the devils of that uh, perpetrate this program, or their minions, which are those that have compromised with the beast. We're so far ahead of them, they have no clue, and it's due to the barrier of their narcissistic, apathetic, um, you know, position, lacking feelings, lacking emotions, the ability to be able to empathize or sympathize or even feel the emotional state of the situation, saying this person isn't dumber than me. They're just more humbler than me. They're more, what's the word that I'm looking for? Um, when I'll just put it this way, in the eyes of the demon, aka the narcissist, uh, humility is interpreted as stupidity. Kindness is interpreted as a form of weakness. This is a broken Rosetta Stone due to the fact that they either have no soul or they have sold their souls or they have compromised their souls in order to survive in a system that is out to kill, steal, and destroy those that are righteous. I don't see any more comments in the box, so I'm not sure if we're still streaming or not. Can you guys hear me, or is the audio? How's the audio? Put a one in the chat if you guys can hear the audio. Also, if there's any sort of questions or topics that you want to discuss, now would be the time. Grace is in the building. It says, are uh, these people even human, or do you think it's just demonic spirits possessing them? I think it's, uh, here's my position. It's a combination of both. I'm not telling you what I think, I'm telling you what I know. Um, all right, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities. But there's rules to how the um, uh, existence work, this what you would call 3D dimension or earth realm works, right? So the spirit, which is the independent intellectual um, um, life force, right? That is indeed amorphous, right? It has no particular form that you can physically, concretely touch, right? But it does have expression, and it can express itself in many different ways. To be expressed, according to my personal belief, in this physical world fully, it needs a physical body, a vehicle, so to speak, an avatar, right? So many of the so-called gang stalkers are merely avatars for the actual unseen spirits that are motivating and instigating such hatred and animosity toward us, right? Because I thought about it time and time again. I said, it makes no sense whatsoever. What would inspire a group of people to watch, a person 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, monitor their phones? I just went to Walmart. I live in Calhoun, Louisiana, so I'm out in the country. In order for me to go to a Walmart store, I got to drive all the way to West Monroe, um, which is maybe about uh, 10 to 12 um, miles away. And so I get there, and guess what? There's people pulling up with these shades on, these entities, these empty vessels, being inspired by or motivated by the demonic spirits that have me under spiritual surveillance, right? They have these dark shades on. They're weirdos just pulling up in the parking lot, not getting out their vehicle, but they're monitoring me. Now, because that would be quite obvious that something unusual is happening to those that are aware, right? They have situational or positional awareness of their environment, right? You couldn't pull that off if you didn't have a cover up story, right? So the cover up story is community safety, mental health uh, protocol through OSHA, um, laws, et cetera, or the CDC, or national security. So all this becomes a cover for the more esoteric, true foundation of why this is happening, right? So you have a I was explaining it to a family member earlier today, actually, and I do apologize. I hope you guys can hear me. So I was explaining this to a family member earlier today, and I said they were a veteran, right? So I compared it to the experience of someone with military background. All right, so you have platoons, you have squadron leaders, etc. Right, so your squadron leader or your platoon leader would be like the principality, the chief demon, right? Like the Beelzebub, the Azazel that have um, soldier demons under his command, right? So there's been a principality, a chief demon like a Beelzebub or an Azazel that have been conjured and assigned to destroy a chosen elect. Now, at his disposals, or this demonic spirit disposal, he have soldier demons. These soldier demons, right, occupy the bodies of anyone who's not sealed in the Holy Spirit. So they have legal spiritual rights to any physical body in this plane that have aligned themselves through sin, through bloodlines, because some people are born, as the scriptures say, for this very condemnation. They were born for destruction. They were born to serve the enemy. The enemy have a bloodline that he have legal rights to in this earth. They would be referred to as terror in the scriptures, right? So any of the terrors around you in your physical social environment, these soldier demons and the chief demon leading them can actually access them. This is why come oftentimes, no matter where you go, the spirit or personality of the people or the terrors that you encounter seem to be carbon copies of what you've dealt with in uh, different scenarios, much like the Smiths, for those of you who have seen the movie um, The Matrix. So this is what's happening in the spiritual realm. In the physical realm, you'll see different bodies, right? They have different phases. They be different genders, ages, etc. But if you have discernment, you will notice the same spirit wherever you go, are the same spirits. And just like in the military, right, where there's a squadron leader or a platoon leader or sector, they're given orders to carry out, right? And they're going to continue to attempt to execute the order that they were sent for until they are neutralized or eliminated. And that's why the Most High has to cut these days short, because if he didn't, there'd be no flesh left. They are out to destroy, to physically, mentally, emotionally, socially, on every single level, destroy you if you are a souled life force in this world. If you're a child of the kingdom, they want you destroyed. And these are the realities of gang stalking. Fred Merritt says, sound is loud and clear. These unemployed neighbors receive basic universal income for stalking. Absolutely. And many of them have backgrounds They want to paint us as the potential threat, but in actuality, many of these people come through the Phoenix program. And you can look up the Phoenix programs getting their wings back. These are people who have felonies, they're convicts, they may have had their record sealed, multiple misdemeanors, etc., and they have to compromise with the beast. I was speaking with one of the agents, and of course, they always place them on my job. And this individual used to be in a gang, you know what I mean, in a street gang or whatever the case may be. But if you saw him and engaged with him, you would never know because he's turned code or become an op for the regional fusion centers, right? Working hand in hand with the law enforcement in order to attack who? Me, your boy. Why? Because I speak up and I speak out against the wrongs, the injustices. I tell people I'm not perfect, but I want to be right. I strive for perfection, and I, like my heavenly Father, I hate sinful injustice, unrighteous deeds. I have no problem against color. I'm not a religious person, so I accept people as long as your beliefs don't harm others, or etc. I believe you have the First Amendment right in free will that the Most High give you to believe what you desire to believe, and express that belief in a peaceful and a tactful manner, right? Um, However, I am against things such as racism. I am against things such as homosexuality. I am against things such as pedophilia, the child rape, which is out of control. I am against the exploitation of others. People talking about the uh, immigration here in America needs to be reformed, but in actuality, it's human trafficking. It's another form of exploitation. Why do you think these immigrants come here? And why do you think they're able to stay here? I've never been, in my entire existence, I've never been robbed and attacked by an illegal immigrant. Not ever. Not to, my knowledge. I've never been attacked and robbed by an illegal immigrant. Why? Because they work hard. How do they work? By those who are human trafficking and exploiting them. The same rich people that make you, that give you the illusion and the lie that this is a problem and needs to be dealt with, are the exact same ones that have these illegal immigrants working in fields and factories for less than livable wages, for their benefits. And they're investors. They may not be necessarily owners because they like to distance themselves from being counted uh, uh, liable or accountable for such an act. So they know how to work the system. They know the loopholes, etc., how to benefit off the situation without actually being connected with the situation. So, yes, I'm against the human trafficking. I am against the illegal human experimentations, whether it's the Barack Obama Brain Initiative, where they are engaging in cybernetic, experiments on unsuspecting publics. Many of the people that you see out in the streets, and you would think they're displaying signs of mental illness because they're talking to themselves, they're actually victims of voice to skull technology, remote neuromonitoring technology. And the only thing that could inspire such an atrocity, such an inhumane act, is a devil, a demon, which is inhabiting and promoting these physical tears, what we would call humanoid species, in order to carry out such an act. let me get back to the comments. There's no more comments, but I'm hoping this is understandable. It's very difficult to be able to go out into the world. On my particular, uh, in my particular work field, I'm having to engage with the public, and I'm having to engage with others on a constant basis. And my biggest challenge is, how do I engage with them in a way that don't necessarily spark fear? Because once they know uh, that you're a thinker, you know what I mean, and a seer, the the enemy's going to be afraid, right? Because you see them as they are. And one thing that evil people don't want is for you to see them as they are. They want to stay behind the veil, but we're in the age where the veil is being lifted. So people are being able to see and discern the truth for what it is, and not the illusion that appears to be. The illusion is wearing off, and this is why the enemy is aware that his time is short, their time of their kingdom reign is short, and they're just out in the opening. You know, they're acts that makes no sense whatsoever. You're like, okay, they're flying planes in daylight. You know what I mean? I know there's um, air traffic laws that would definitely regulate this high level amount of traffic and drones flying through the sky, right? Uh, but it's being obviously ignored, and there's no enforcement doing anything to say, why are you constantly flying over this individual's house? Why are you hitting them with directed energy weapons? You know, other things like the FCC uh, not regulating phone and communication hacking. You don't think they have the technology and the ability to be able to pick up on uh, abnormal frequency activity in the area? Of course they do, but they're in agreement. You know, Satan's system divided would not stand. The reason why it have stood so far is because there's a sense of unity, although they're starting to divide along the way. But this is the gang stalking experience that we have on a global scale. It's corruption from authorities, from the judicial to the legislative to the executive branch. It is a deep state government that is running a underground show, calling their own rules as they go, and we are victims of it all. You know, whether you're a gang stalker or a TI, everyone's a victim at the end of the day, because the enemy cares about no one. Fred Matt says when they groom their kids to harass, they are grooming their kids to become criminals. Absolutely. And it's by blood, you know what I mean? And you see it everywhere, even in politics. This is why, in the hierarchy, at least in a monarchy system, right, it would be obvious that political power is attained through bloodline. And the illusion of democracy, it's still the exact same. It's just that it's more secretive and less obvious to those that aren't astute to how this thing actually works. You know, if you're part of a rich generational bloodline, then you assume power. If you're part of those that have common power before you, then you assume it. If you're someone who breaks that barrier, like John F. Kennedy, like the Kennedy family, which they did rise to power. If you don't know the history of the Kennedys, they were uh, during the era of prohibition. They gained their wealth through bootlegging. Uh, that's when alcohol and the sale thereof was illegal in the United States. So through bootlegging, they uh, uh, gained massive amounts of wealth. They weren't the only criminal family, right? But they were penalized for it. And uh, John F. Kennedy obtained positions of power. He also had family members in CIA, etc., but they were all eliminated. Why? Because they were intruders in a system that their bloodline wasn't connected to. So I don't have to explain what happened in Dallas, Texas by the FBI and CIA um, co- coordinating with the secret services. You can go watch the video for yourself. And so it says, I get planes often. I just had one fly over me, so I thought I would just incorporate that into this discussion. That's how often I get it. Grace says they use shades to hide their evil, demonic eyes, because they know a true child of Yah can see right through them. Absolutely. And I always get the shade wearers. They followed me through Walmart. They follow me like I have got to be the most popular person on the planet. And it's uncomfortable because I go to places I've never been before and you know, embark with strangers who shows signs that they've been informed of me at the least, because you can't know anyone through a community notification or a risk app, right? So they know nothing about me. They just know that the presentation or the community-based discussion that have been um, deliberated about me, and it's very difficult to build organic relationships or rapport with people who believe that they know you and they don't know nothing about you. They've never met you before. You see what I'm saying? They just know the story or the false leaflet or the narrative that these psychopathic federal agents are presenting about you. That's all they know. And it is a challenge to deal with. Says true. This is what it is. I go to work, and when I get on the job, guess what? These idiots, they're coming to me as if they know me. I don't know. I've never seen these people before in my life. You know what I mean? It's like, hello, how are you doing? I do uh, commercial haul. Here's my transport security clearance. I'm skilled in these fields. I have 15 years of um, experience, and, and before I can finish giving my resume and my uh, criteria, they're telling me about me before I can tell them about me. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's really weird, strange, and narcissistic, to say the least, that you have a plantation slave owner mentality permeating throughout society. Where it's like, no, no, you're not Kunta, you're Toby. I'm pretty sure I'm Kunta. No, you're Toby, and we're going to call you Toby, and you're going to like it, and we're going to treat you like Toby, and you're going to take on the road. No, I'm pretty sure my mama named me Kunta. No, we're going to beat that out of you. We're going to demand corporation, and this is the like um, proverbial scenario that keep reoccurring in my life. Why? Because we're in the age of Marxism. We're in the age where there's a communistic socialism that has been accepted since 2001, September 11th, if you get my drift. For those of you who know what incidents occurred there, so that the algorithms aren't triggered on YouTube, that has been my experience. And for whatever reason or the other, the Pentagon and the United States government deemed me as the number one threat shortly after they eliminated Muammar Gaddafi. So you can only imagine some of the things that I've experienced in the assassination attempts that have been on my life. Not obvious, like what India did to, what was the guy's name in Canada, who India assassinated? What was that guy's name? Um, can't think of it. But they basically just, gunned him down in the middle of the street. And of course, Prime Minister Trudeau knew all about it, right? But he had to give this because Satan, he owns the governments of this world, right? So they got to give this media presentation as if, this is wrong and we're against this, whatever the case may be. But there's not a satanic led government on the face of this planet that isn't in agreement with, his conquest for world domination. They want to build his pyramid society with him as the capstone or the leader of that societal kingdom. It says they keep us from making a first impression. Absolutely. Now, that's a mouthful. That's exactly what they do. They want to uh, dictate your social relationships. This is at what they present Russia as, but in actuality, America's way worse, I would say, than Russia when it comes to this, because they've mastered the art and skill of social psychological manipulations through the MK Ultra, through the COINTELPRO, Operation Chaos, etc. It says it breaks the soul. Absolutely. It says, I was part of the majority influx that got added to the list after that special day. You know which one? Absolutely. We all know the, you know, false flag inside job, uh, building 7, which never was hit, but just so happened All right, you guys, man, we've said a trigger word, obviously, and they've disabled my URL filter in my um, mobile virus protection. Um, but you know what? If you guys are able to hear me, Building 7 was demolition. It was already pre-positioned for demolition. And yes, I spoke out about it. I did a report about it. And yes, I was thrown on a terrorist watch list. My character was assassinated for years from Chicago all the way down to the state of Louisiana. I am constant under 24-hour surveillance and watch by demonic spirits and their avatar counterparts working through the Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, the NSA, and every other demonic alphabet sector that you can possibly think of. On my job, they have artificial intelligence um, cameras and audio surveillances rolling 24/7. I am constantly surrounded by idiots, whether in my personal community or out and about. It don't matter where I'm at. The enemy, as the initial song by K. Reno, Grand Deception stated, the devils are attempting to keep their eyes surveillancing me at all times. This is my life, and it has been my life for the past 12 years. They have attacked family members, they have attacked social relationships, and they have attempted to assassinate me. I get hit with directed energy weapons 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, nonstop, and they present me to the world and to others as some sort of danger or psychological unstable individual, neither of which is true. I am an approachable, very sociable person that can easily, you know, be questioned if need be, but my case never get presented in the court of law because they're the criminals. So any evidence or leaflets that they present about me is never due process. There's no examination or cross examination to be able to verify the validity of any claims that they make. However, I do have this live stream, which is probably the only way I will be able to relay this information to the public. But through shadow banning, it's very limited as to how far uh, these messages or these cries out for help will actually go. I know that my security is down on my device, and they're probably siphoning off text messages, etc. So I am going to close this video. Not that there's anything incriminating on any of my devices. You know what I mean? They're just going to get work orders. But if need be, I would love to see them in court. I've been trying to get them in court for many, many years. However, you know, the deep state kind of does its own thing through the fusion centers with these corrupt federal magistrate judges, which authorizes the FBI, NSA, DHS, and the entirety of the so-called intelligent community, human tail. Anyway, till next time, I hope that everyone is doing well. Fred says they sacrificed 3,000 American lives just to, absolutely. And it's not the first time, you know, they wanted to do this with Cuba as well. Um, and, you know, it never was carried out. They wanted to, that's where the foundation or the root word of false flag comes from is their attempt to attack American soldiers at Guantanamo Bay and blame it on the Cubans. And so, this have been the case. Even prior to that, look up uh, the Operation Tonkin Gulf or Gulf of Tonkin, where they sank U.S. ship in U.S. Virginia submarine and blamed it on the Vietnamese in order to have a righteous stance in order to go to war against the Vietnamese people so that they could traffic opioids to generate revenue through the pharmaceutical industry. Prior to then, um, you know, I won't speak on that because they will shut me down. But research the Gulf of Tonkin, research the opioid wars, etc., and find out why they went into Vietnam, Afghanistan, and other countries. I will continue to speak out against atrocities and evil. If they don't like it, just stop doing it. You know what I mean? Stop doing the evil, wicked things that you're doing. And guess what? I won't talk about it because it won't be nothing to talk about. Um, all right. So, anyway, you guys continue to pray for me. Under 24-hour surveillance, watch, monitoring, infiltration, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. Whether on my job or in my community, there is no peace, just agents assigned to carry out the will of the devil. But I'm here to carry out the will of the Most High, the Heavenly Father. And as long as He gives me breath in my body, that I will do. You guys continue to stay woke, continue to stay in the word of truth, continue to live righteous, and never sell your soul. And I promise you, you will be blessed. But your boy, MTAC, has got to be his out.